Switzerland has no coast, no major port, no oil, no colonial history to extract wealth from. Its entire domestic market is 8.9 million people, smaller than London. By every conventional measure of what makes a country wealthy, Switzerland should be struggling. Instead, it has a GDP per capita of $118,000, the highest of any major economy on Earth, higher than the United States, higher than Norway, which has actual oil in the ground. Switzerland does not have oil. It has something more valuable, and the story of how it built that something over 4 centuries is one of the most extraordinary economic stories in history. Today we tell that story, and we explain why in 2026, for the first time in decades, the Swiss model is facing threats serious enough to matter. Chapter 1. The country that invented itself. To understand Switzerland, you have to start with an uncomfortable truth. The Swiss were not born wealthy. They were born trapped. The Alps are beautiful. They are also a prison, landlocked, surrounded by mountains. No navigable rivers to the sea, no fertile plains, no mineral wealth of any significance. For centuries, the Swiss exported the one resource they had in abundance: their men. Swiss mercenaries were the most sought-after soldiers in Europe. The Pope's Swiss Guard still exists today as the last living remnant of an economy that literally sold military service because it had nothing else to sell. So how does a country go from renting out soldiers to having the highest GDP per capita on Earth? It made one decision that almost nobody else in Europe made consistently. It stayed out of wars. Armed neutrality, codified in 1815 after the Napoleonic Wars, gave Switzerland something extraordinarily rare in 19th and 20th century Europe: stability, continuity, a place where contracts were honored, institutions were trusted, and wealth was safe. While France, Germany, Britain, Austria, and Russia tore themselves apart in a succession of wars that destroyed wealth, infrastructure, and institutions, Switzerland quietly accumulated. Capital flowed in from every conflict: French aristocrats fleeing revolution, German industrialists escaping instability, Jewish families seeking safety, Russian wealth before there was a word for oligarchs. Everyone with something to protect and nowhere safe to put it in Switzerland. And here is the insight that unlocks the entire Swiss economic story. The banking system did not become dominant because Swiss bankers were smarter than French or German bankers. It became dominant because Switzerland was the only major European country that did not periodically blow itself up. Stability is a product. The Swiss figured that out 400 years before everyone else. And they have been selling it ever since. Chapter 2. What stability built. On that foundation of trust and stability, the Swiss built 4 things that together make the Swiss economy essentially unique on Earth. The first is pharmaceuticals. Novartis and Roche, both headquartered in Basel, together form the world's largest pharmaceutical cluster. Switzerland is home to more pharmaceutical patents per capita than any country on Earth. In 2025, total Swiss exports reached $495 billion from 8.9 million people. Pharmaceuticals drove the majority of that figure. When the world needs medicines, it largely buys them from Switzerland, and it does not have the option to buy them from somewhere cheaper, because the expertise, the regulatory infrastructure, and the research networks that produce these medicines took a century to build and exist almost nowhere else. The second is financial services. UBS manages over $5.7 trillion in assets, the largest wealth manager in the world. Switzerland manages roughly $2.5 trillion in offshore private wealth. The Swiss franc is one of the world's 3 safe haven currencies alongside the dollar and yen. When markets crash, wars begin, or political systems destabilize, capital flows into Swiss francs. Every global crisis sends money to Switzerland. The more unstable the world becomes, the richer Switzerland gets in relative terms. The third is precision manufacturing. Switzerland makes things that require the most skilled human hands on Earth. Watches, Rolex, Patek Philippe, Omega, but also precision surgical instruments, aerospace components, and specialty machinery that requires decades of accumulated craft knowledge. These are not products that can be automated or manufactured more cheaply elsewhere. The knowledge is in the people, and the people are in Switzerland. The fourth, and the one almost nobody talks about, is commodity trading. Geneva and Zug are the world's largest commodity trading hubs. Glencore, Trafigura, Vitol, Mercuria, the companies that physically move the world's oil, metals, and agricultural commodities, are all based in Switzerland. Not because Switzerland produces any of these things, because Switzerland is neutral, because Swiss law is stable, because Swiss courts are trusted by every counterparty on every side of every geopolitical conflict. The world's physical resources flow through Swiss trading houses Because everybody, Russians, Americans, Chinese, Saudis, trusts a Swiss contract. 4 pillars, each one built on the same foundation: neutrality, stability, trust. The things Switzerland chose to specialize in when it had nothing else, the things that turned out to be the most valuable products in the global economy. And the numbers that resulted are almost incomprehensible. A trade surplus consistently above $100 billion per year. Unemployment at 2.8% in 2025, inflation below 1% in 2026, public debt among the lowest in Europe. Number 1 on the Global Innovation Index for 14 consecutive years. ETH Zurich consistently ranked among the top 10 universities in the world. Life expectancy of 84.1 years, among the highest on Earth. This is not a wealthy country. It is the wealthiest country, and it has been for a very long time. Chapter 3, the cracks, which makes what is happening in 2026 all the more striking. Because for the first time in decades, the Swiss model is facing threats from multiple directions simultaneously. And each threat goes straight to one of those 4 pillars. Start with pharmaceuticals. When Trump announced his tariff policy in April 2025, Switzerland was hit with a 39% rate, higher than most European countries. The deal that followed reduced this to 15% for most goods. But pharmaceutical tariffs remain explicitly on the table. If the United States imposes sector-specific tariffs on medicines, Switzerland faces a direct hit to the sector that generates the majority of its export revenue. EY estimates this could drag Swiss GDP growth by 0.9 percentage points in 2026, larger than the impact on most European economies precisely because of this pharmaceutical concentration. Growth is now projected at just 0.6% in 2026, down from 1.3% in 2025. Then there is the franc, the safe haven currency that is simultaneously Switzerland's greatest asset and its most persistent competitive problem. In normal times, when nobody is panicking, the franc is still strong. Swiss exports are still expensive. Swiss manufacturers compete against German and French competitors who can price more aggressively because their currencies are weaker. The Swiss National Bank has spent decades intervening in currency markets trying to manage this problem. It has never fully solved it. And the euro's appreciation in 2026, driven by US monetary easing and Germany's fiscal expansion, is adding fresh pressure on Swiss export competitiveness. The EU relationship adds another layer of complexity. Switzerland is not an EU member. It maintains access to the European single market, its largest trading partner, through a complex web of over 120 bilateral agreements that require constant renegotiation. In 2021, Switzerland walked away from a framework agreement that would have streamlined this. The resulting uncertainty has created ongoing friction. A new institutional agreement is being negotiated in 2026. The outcome remains genuinely uncertain. For Swiss companies, particularly in financial services, the lack of a stable relationship with the EU represents a structural risk to their market access. And then there is banking, the pillar that started it all. Swiss banking secrecy, the foundation that made the financial services sector uniquely attractive, has been systematically dismantled over the past 15 years under intense international pressure. The US prosecution of UBS in 2009, FATCA, the OECD Common Reporting Standard. Each one eroded the confidentiality that once made Swiss accounts irreplaceable. And then in 2023, Credit Suisse, one of the 2 pillars of Swiss banking, collapsed spectacularly and was absorbed by UBS. The result is a single bank so large relative to the Swiss economy that its failure would be catastrophic. The country that built its reputation on financial stability now has a systemic banking concentration risk that keeps the Swiss National Bank awake at night. 4 pillars, 4 threats, each one carefully targeted, whether intentionally or not, at the exact thing that makes Switzerland, Switzerland. Chapter 4, the bull case. And yet, the Swiss model has survived worse. The pharmaceutical industry is not going anywhere because of a 15% tariff. Building the research infrastructure, regulatory expertise, and talent networks that produce the world's most advanced medicines took a century. Novartis and Roche are not relocating to New Jersey to save on import duties. The expertise is in Switzerland. The people are in Switzerland. The patents are in Switzerland. A tariff makes Swiss medicines slightly more expensive in America. It does not make them less necessary. The safe haven status of the franc, while a competitive challenge in normal times, becomes an extraordinary asset every time the world gets more dangerous. And the world in 2026 is getting more dangerous. Every escalation in the Middle East, Every US-China confrontation, every European political crisis, capital flows into Swiss francs. Switzerland benefits from the instability that damages everyone else. Germany's €500 billion infrastructure fund, the largest fiscal expansion in German post-war history, will generate spillover demand for Swiss goods and services as Europe's largest economy begins to spend at scale. March 2025, data already showed Swiss export growth accelerating to Germany, and the innovation engine keeps running regardless of tariffs or currency moves. 14 consecutive years at the top of the Global Innovation Index is structural. It reflects education, research infrastructure, and a business environment that consistently produces the world's most valuable, knowledge-intensive products. That is not change, because Donald Trump put a tariff on Roche. Switzerland did not become the world's wealthiest major economy by finding oil or conquering territories or exploiting cheaper labor markets. They became wealthy by staying out of fights when everyone else was fighting, by building trust when everyone else was breaking it, by specializing in the things that required the most skilled hands, the most trusted institutions, and the most stable environment for 400 years. Pharmaceuticals that save lives, financial systems that protect wealth, precision instruments that require human mastery, trading houses that the whole world trusts. In 2026, the tariff risk is real. The franc is still too strong. The EU relationship is still unresolved. And the banking sector is still quietly digesting the largest banking failure in Swiss history. The Swiss have a phrase: Qualität hat ihren Preis. Quality has its price. For 4 centuries, the world has been willing to pay that price. The question for 2026 is whether the world still will. If you want to understand how to invest in stable, high-quality economies and protect your portfolio in an increasingly unstable world, check out my complete investing masterclass. Link in the description. Thanks for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe. If you enjoyed, see you next time.